2024 is the year of the dragon, which is said to symbolize strength, power, and most importantly for this video, good fortune. After completing Pokemon Violet for the first time almost 2 years ago, I decided to do a complete run of Pokemon Scarlet using only full-out shiny dragons, and that was supposed to be this entire video. But then 2 DLCs for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were released, adding even more new dragon types to the Generation 9 roster. My plans for this video then evolved into something even bigger, and that was finding every new shiny dragon type that was introduced in Scarlet and Violet, all at the base shiny odds, with no shiny charm, no sparkling power sandwiches, and no Outbreak knockout method. So let's get right into it. I started this Scarlet file all the way back in January of 2023, which was way before various updates for the Teal Mask, Indigo Disc, and epilogues for Scarlet and Violet. In terms of new dragon types, or any dragon type at all really, there are very few available in the early games. However, there is one dragon type Pokemon that is brand new in Generation 9 that you can find pretty early on. Cyclizar is a normal dragon type, and it has some pretty interesting implications with the lore and story relating to our 2 main legendaries. But ignoring that for now, this quest already had its first problem. So the farthest you can reach without beating the Team Star base in the East Province Area 1 is this area right here. By going to this spot over the hill, you can jump across the river even with no mobility upgrades for Kaiyato and Miraidon. And by jumping in this exact spot, we can access the East Province Area 2 where Cyclizar actually spawns. Now since we're so early in the game, sandwiches could also be another bottle cat that we run into. But thankfully, I have a second switch which allows me to make sandwiches in the Union Circle. I can use the Union Circle to make sandwiches that will give me encounter power and title power 3 for the dragon types super early on. And thanks to this workaround, hordes of Cyclizar were soon on my screen. And on my second sandwich, the first shiny of the file appeared. I'm actually a big fan of shiny Cyclizar. I think the color scheme is very original and unique compared to most shinies that people like. After spending way too long trying to chase it down though, I eventually caught it in a nest ball. It has a timid nature with no mark, even with the title power 3 active, but I could finally start progressing through the actual game now. Well, with one small hiccup actually, this Cyclizar is level 22. With no badges, Pokemon traded to me or caught above level 20 won't always obey. This meant my first priority was getting some Paldea gym badges to increase the level cap of Cyclizar here. The rest of the dragons available to shiny hunt in Paldea aren't available until much later in the game, which means this Cyclizar is going to have to fight its way through half of the Paldea region on its own. So let's get right into it. First up was the Grass Gym Brassius, and even with Cyclizar loafing around every other turn, it was a pretty easy W. Our second battle was against Caddy, the Bug-type gym leader, and now that we had a Pokemon who will actually listen to us, it was an even easier W. Our third battle is against our first Titan, Cloth, and after defeating it, we finally had a little more mobility on Kaiyato. Having no dash was so painful. Moving on, after defeating Nemona for the first time with our dragon, we went for our 4th badge against Iono in the Electric Gym. This gym battle was definitely more of a challenge, but with the Electric vs Dragon type matchup, we pulled through. Our 5th badge is against the second Titan, Bombardier. And at this point, Cyclizar is juiced up after 4 battles, and this is an early game fight, so it was really pretty easy. And now we finally reached my first point of really struggling in this challenge, and that was against Kofu, the Water Gym leader. Veluza and Wugtrio weren't much of an issue, but Kofu's Ace Crabominable has the ice typing and a big advantage against my lone dragon. It took 5 battles, a whole lot of heals, and definitely a little luck, but eventually Cyclizar and I came through with our 4th gym badge. Next up on the agenda is the 3rd Titan, Orthworm. And Arvin's Toad School with Grass Knot honestly carried here, but we got the badge and another mobility upgrade. And the final stop on Cyclizar's insane solo run, after getting interrupted by Nemona one more time, was the man himself, Larry. Definitely needed plenty of heals for this fight too, but Cyclizar the GOAT came through once again. Now that Cyclizar has carried us to the halfway point of the main story, we're finally far enough along to hunt for our next dragons. Ah, beautiful Glaciato Mountain. There's so many cool Pokemon to find here and a shiny hunt, but our focus is on this little guy right here. Frigibax is the first stage evolution for the Generation 9 pseudo-legendary Pokemon Baxclibur, and it has a super cool typing with Dragon and Ice. Using an Ice-type sandwich here would definitely not be efficient at all, so more Dragon sandwiches in Union Circle were made, and the hunt was started. Frigibax spawned all over the mountain area, and after 3 more Dragon sandwiches, my first shiny Frigibax spawned. I finally have another dragon type for the team, and Cyclizar can get a helping hand or two maybe now. I caught this in a netball, and it has a quiet nature. I also struck out again on a marked shiny dragon, but hey, we'll get one eventually, right? With the improved team, I battled for my 9th badge against the Psychic type Tulip, where, to be honest, Cyclizar just carried again anyway, but Frigibax got its time to shine eventually with the next badge against the Titan Great Tusk. After a final interruption from Nemona and her team, I took this duo of dragons to one more badge before shiny hunting again, and it was a double battle against Rhyme and her team of ghost types. With 11 of the 18 badges now obtained, I basically had no choice but to shiny hunt again if I wanted to defeat the next category of bosses. You need at least 3 Pokemon in your team to challenge the Team Star bases, which we've done 0 of right now, so more shiny dragons need to be hunted. With all this talk about Generation 9 dragons, let's talk about how there are not many available to shiny hunt, especially before accessing Area 0 and the DLCs. There are 7 dragon type Pokemon that you can shiny hunt before Area 0 in Scarlet and Violet. Those Pokemon are Cyclizar, Frigibax with its 2 evolutions, and the 3 different forms of Tatsugiri. The plan for my main story team includes Cyclizar, Baxclibur, and the 3 Tatsugiri forms, with 1 extra slot left for a post-game find. I've already made an entire video dedicated to showcasing the Tatsugiri among other shiny dragons that I've found already, so any of the finds shown in that video won't get as much love as in this one, excluding the 3 Tatsugiri I decided to keep for the team. Phase 1 started with the shiny Altaria after 2 sandwiches, and Phase 2, this Droopy form Tatsugiri appeared during the very same sandwich. Some insane full odds luck there for sure, and I took this Tatsugiri to face Melina of Team Star, where its water Terra typing came in pretty clutch. Phase 3 also ended with another white Tatsugiri after 3 more sandwich sessions. I took the same team from before, plus our shiny Altaria, to the Giacomo battle, where Moonblast swept his dark types. I should also note, Altaria is going to be one of the honorary 6 team members until we reach the postgame. I took a break from shiny hunting the Tatsugiri forms after this, and decided to hunt for my second shiny Frigibax. Now, I wasn't even planning this every Generation 9 dragon video when I did this hunt, but I wanted to try again for 2 reasons. The first reason was to try and get a mark on this shiny unlike the last one. And the second reason? I love Arctibax. Both the design and the shiny sprite look super good in my opinion, and I wanted to have one for myself. So after 4 more dragon sandwiches in Glaciato Mountain, Frigibax number 2 was found. This one has a mild nature, and unfortunately, no mark once again. I progressed in the story a little further after this, fighting against Atticus of Team Star for our 14th badge. I then went back to the gates of Tatsugiri Hell after this, and found another 3 phases for a shiny Stretchy and curly form Tatsu. I found 2 shiny Gumi and a shiny Swablu, and the last 2 both had marks attached. It would be nice to find a mark on a team member eventually though. Speaking of, these 3 phases and 2 marked shinies made me eager to get one more attempt in at a shiny marked Frigibax. This would be the final gambit though, as I already have 2 at the full odds, and finding one more will complete the entire evolution line. 6 dragon type sandwiches would come and go before something finally shined, and it was the 3rd and final Frigibax I needed. This Frigibax has a hardy nature, and I was let down one last time with no mark on the summary screen. I got to train up this most recent find, and eventually evolve it into the pseudo-legend Baxclibur, completing the shiny evolution line. With a powerful new dragon type on the team, I moved on to Airy and the Fighting Star base. This was kinda tough for your boy, because of the 6 Pokemon I had on my team, 4 of them had a weakness to fighting moves. Thankfully, our honorary member Altaria saved the day with its flying Terra type. There are only 3 more badges left to obtain before things get even more difficult, but even these 3 badges don't look too good for us. There is 1 badge from each category remaining: the Ice type Gym badge, the Dragon type Titan badge, and the Fairy type Team Star base badge. Are you noticing anything here? All of these have a type advantage against our team chock full of dragons. So before pursuing these final badges, I decided to lock in on Tatsugiri and hunt for the final 2 forms I needed. My first phase back to this hunt gave me exactly what I wanted to see, and I found one of the 2 forms I was looking for. The shiny curly form Tatsugiri appeared after another 6 sandwiches, just like our final Frigibax, and after 6 total phases. I caught it in a luxury ball, and it has a careful nature. Nope, it's still not marked, don't even bother asking. Anyway, the hunt continued for another 4 phases with a second Swablu and 3 more shiny Droopy Tatsugiri. I'm sure it's no surprise to you all, but my favorite of these shiny Tatsugiri forms is definitely the white variant. It's a phenomenal shiny that matches my favorite Pokeball in the series too. So if I was going to find a bunch of the same Tatsugiri, I am glad that it's the Droopy form. But those other 4 phases have now lost their chance at a spot on the team when I looked at this 5th shiny white Tatsugiri summary screen. Not only does it have the nature I always guess for shiny finds, but I finally found a permanent team member with a mark. It's actually a good one too. Unlike the uncommon mark, the thorny mark gives the title Tatsugiri the Pompous. And like I said before, this is the shiny Droopy form that will be on the team over the other 4. My good luck would continue rolling right after this too, and in a buzzer beater of a spawn, the final shiny Tatsugiri I needed appeared the very next phase after 7 more dragon sandwiches. The shiny Stretchy form of this Pokemon also looks great shiny. It has a brave nature and no mark, which was perfectly fine with me because I finally had all 3 forms of shiny Tatsugiri. My team of shining dragons was now as complete as it could be at this point. This final Tatsugiri was found at the end of January in 2023, and there were no other dragons available before the post game in Area 0, so it was time to face those final 3 battles and obtain the rest of the badges. First up was Grusha and the Ice-type gym. While I didn't lose any Pokemon during this battle surprisingly, it still took my whole roster to get it done. But after defeating his Altaria, the final gym badge was obtained. Next up was a location all too familiar with me, the Casseroya Lake, where we can get the last Titan badge against Dondozo and Tatsugiri. Dondozo didn't pose much of a challenge, and then I used the Curly Tatsugiri form to finish off his Titan brethren. There's only one battle remaining now, and it's against the team I've been worried about most this whole run, Ortega and his team of fairy types. This battle took just about everything my dragon team had, with Baxclibur, Terranormal Cyclizar, and 2 Tatsugiri all being defeated. It came down to my final Tatsugiri form, the Stretchy form, versus fairy type Revavroom. It came down to the wire, but my little Tatsu pulled out the win and got us the 18th and final badge of the main story. It's been a crazy ride throughout the Scarlet Files so far, but we are nowhere near done, and it was time to battle the final bosses of each storyline in the main game, starting with Arven. This was a classic team victory with each of my Paldean dragons landing a knockout, with Baxclibur having some extra fun and taking out 2 Pokemon, including his ace Mabostic. After a quick face-off against Director Clavel, who claims to be the leader of Team Star, the battle against Penny and her evolutions follows. There wasn't too much to worry about here, besides the Ace Terra Fairy Sylveon waiting in the back of her team. But we've faced fairy types before, and with my Curly Tatsugiri, we picked up the win. There's only one more storyline to take care of now, and it starts by heading to the Pokemon League and battling the Elite Four. First up is Rika and her ground-type Pokemon, but our team has a huge advantage in typing with all of our ice and water types, so this was a cakewalk. Second in line here is Poppy, the youngest member of the Elite Four, and her Steel-type Pokemon. This definitely wasn't the same story as our previous battle. The Steel-type wasn't great for our current ace Baxclibur, and it took almost the entire team getting knocked out for us to get the win. I soon realized that I messed up bad, and I did not bring nearly enough heals for the Elite Four, but thankfully the man, the myth, the legend, Larry is number 3, switching his primary typing from normal to flying. A quite unfortunate decision for him as Baxclibur just decimated his team. The final member of the Elite Four is a battle I've been looking forward to since the start of this challenge, and it was against Hansel, a fellow dragon enthusiast. It was a real chance to prove that I had the best dragon team here in Paldea, and even though he took down a few of my mons, the results were no surprise. With every Elite Four member defeated, only the Paldean champion remained. And I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't make this battle intense even if I wanted to, but the dragons pulled through and beat the Paldea League. With the Paldean League conquered, there was only one more battle before the glory that is post-game Pokemon, and it was against our rival Nemona at her best. This was a close battle, and she was able to take out plenty of my team in the process. But in the end, Tatsugiri the Pompous was left standing, with Baxclibur waiting in the wings, and after holding its ground against Meowscarada's Play Rough, a strong Terra Dragon Pulse won the battle, and opened up the path to our next shiny dragon. So we have now completed the 3 storylines that are given to you at the beginning of Scarlet and Violet, opening up Area 0 to us. Now there is something quite unfortunate here. We cannot shiny hunt for our last shiny dragon before the intense boss battle at the end of the game. So we had to do the boss battle in Area 0 before we could continue with this challenge. So we took our standard dragon team plus Altaria down to defeat AI Sada. And after winning the battle, we can finally go back to Area 0 while riding Koraidon and shiny hunt for our next dragon. I'm sure it's pretty obvious what the next shiny dragon we'll be hunting for is, as there's only one more dragon type pre-DLCs that are available, and that's Roaring Moon. Now I'm pretty sure here at the end of 2024, you can actually find Roaring Moon in a couple different spots, but back when I was hunting Roaring Moon, there was only one place in the game where it could spawn, and it's this little secret cave towards the bottom of Area 0. There are lots of cool things that you can find in here, and we would find a couple of shiny phases before our target. My first phase for Roaring Moon was this Palmo after 7 sandwiches, this Golduck was next after 2 sandwiches, and then finally this Greavard showed up after 4. These were some pretty cool finds, with 2 of them being Generation 9 Pokemon too, Palmo and Greavard. And I absolutely love shiny Greavard. It looks amazing, and I plan to do a bigger video with this at some point in the future. But after these 3 phases is when our final shiny dragon, at least for now, would show up. It would take 4 more sandwiches for another shiny to appear. But finally, one of my most anticipated and wanted shinies for this run would finally spawn. Shiny Roaring Moon looks impeccable, man. I caught it in a friend ball, which I think matches the color scheme perfectly. And the W's don't end here, because as I look over on the summary screen, this Pokemon has a mark. Yes, while it is the worst mark in the game probably, a mark is a mark and I will take it. I also decided to change the Terra type it came with from Dark to Dragon. With Shiny Roaring Moon caught, we now had every available shiny dragon that you could catch in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So there was really only one more thing left to do. I was just going to catch the Kaiyato at the end of the game, and that was supposed to be the end of this video. That was until September 13th, 2023, when the Teal Mask was officially released. Now I can go on for hours about how much I love Kitakami and this entire Teal Mask DLC, but the thing I was most excited for was 100% the announcement of the new Pokemon Dipplin. If you've seen some videos on the channel before, you would know I am a huge fan of the Applin line. I used it in one of my first shiny playthroughs ever. It is a great new Pokemon, and it has an amazing shiny. I decided to hunt for a shiny Applin in the Apple Hills of Kitakami, because I thought it would be cool for the name, but I would come to regret this decision. Hunting in the trees here, while it sounds very cool, it is not very efficient, and trying to spot a shiny can be quite difficult. This was also one of my longest ever full odds hunts in Scarlet and Violet in terms of the number of sandwiches, which definitely wasn't great timing considering the encounter rate here was a lot slower than usual. But finally, after 13 sessions in this apple orchard, I found a shiny Applin to evolve into Dipplin. I caught it in a level ball too, which I thought matched the colors pretty nicely. And it has a quirky nature. I then went right on over to the abandoned apple stand in the corner of Kitakami and left 500 Pokédollars in exchange for the Syrupy Apple evolution item. I was super glad to finally have Dipplin as a part of the Dragon lineup, and honestly, I was just about ready for this to be my favorite shiny Pokemon from Generation 9. But then another new crazy discovery was made. Well, at the time it was crazy at least. It was discovered shortly after the Teal Mask was released that Dipplin could use a certain item, the Eviolite. The Eviolite does not work unless you are a Pokemon that has another evolution after it. So the fact that this item worked on Dipplin meant the new evolution hasn't even been revealed yet. Fast forward to December of 2023 when the Indigo Disc DLC was released, and I was hyped because it brought not one, but two new dragons to shiny hunt. First is the Pokemon I alluded to before, the insane evolution to Dipplin, Hydrapple. Now before I even knew what this Pokemon would look like, I crafted an idea to catch this brand new shiny dragon in the wrong region. This Hydrapple video is already out on my channel, so go check that out if you're interested in learning more about it. But after 3,038 random encounters in Pokemon Shield version, I found my third full-out shiny Applin. I caught this one in a level ball too, because I was pretty sure the shiny for Hydrapple was going to stay similar to Dipplin. And it has a lax nature. It felt good completing a more classic shiny hunt compared to the encounter system in newer games. And after getting a bunch of cool ribbons on it, I transferred Applin from my Shield to my Violet using Pokemon Home. I then evolved it into Dipplin in the Teal Mask, and it was a part of my shiny team for the Teal Mask arc of my Violet Shiny Badge quest. But you guys will see that video soon enough. And after completing that, I ran through the Indigo Disc as fast as I could. To evolve Dipplin into Hydrapple, you'll need to beat Drayton of the Blueberry Elite Four, and afterwards he'll give you the TM for the new move Dragon Cheer. After that, all you need to do is teach Dipplin Dragon Cheer and level it up once to see it evolve into its final stage, Hydrapple. Hydrapple is one of my favorite Generation 9 designs and shinies and Pokemon in general. So much so that I made that entire video dedicated to one shiny that I mentioned before. But it is definitely one of the most prized Pokemon in my collection so far. With this latest insane edition, there is only one more shiny dragon from Generation 9 that I can obtain. And it's another new evolution for a familiar face. But before we get into this final shiny hunt, let's take a moment to honor all of the amazing shiny dragons that are impossible for me to obtain from the Generation 9 Pokedex. The Box legendary Pokemon Miraidon and Koraidon are the first victims here in Gen 9. Miraidon's shiny sprite follows the rest of the future Paradox designs and gains a silver tint to its body, making it look even more futuristic. But Koraidon's shiny is even more insane, with a change to a black body and bright colored accents. Next was the first of the Paradox Johto legendaries introduced, Walking Wake. This raid exclusive legendary is the past Paradox form of Suicune, and its shiny sprite is based off the original Suicune sprite, with a crystal blue body and a dark blue mane. The last two dragons in the Generation 9 Pokedex are the rest of this trio, with Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt. Gouging Fire is the past Paradox form of Entei, with the shiny again taking inspiration from its roots. This one gains some insane colors though, like teal and orange in addition to the classic ash gray. And finally, Raging Bolt is the past Paradox form of Raikou, once again getting parts of the last shiny sprite with the color of its body and mane, but also gains crazy colors with a royal blue. It's truly a shame that these insane sprites are impossible to obtain right now, and trust me, if they weren't shiny locked, they 100% would have been hunted for this video. But for now, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and hope that these can be hunted in a mainline game someday. Now that we paid our respects to the shiny dragons lost to Gen 9, let's focus back on the challenge and hunt for another shiny dragon that originates from Generation 8 and the Galar region. Archaludon was revealed in the trailer for the Indigo Disc DLC, and with that reveal, I knew immediately that my first hunt in this new update would be for a shiny Duraludon. This was actually one of the first shiny Pokemon I ever found live on stream, and I was racing my moderator Saz for this full odds dragon. He wiped the floor with me, finding his shiny in like 2 sandwiches or something, and on December 16th, 2023, the final Pokemon I needed appeared. And after a brutal 15 dragon encounter sandwiches, I was hyped to finally have a Duraludon in its shiny form, but it wouldn't stay like this for long. I caught it in a heavy ball, and its bold nature is actually very fitting for its stats, which gave me all the more reason to use the metal alloy item and evolve Duraludon into the final shiny dragon that was introduced in Generation 9, Shiny Archaludon. Shiny Archaludon is the last of the 11 new dragon Pokemon that can be obtainable shiny in Scarlet and Violet. I started this quest such an insanely long time ago, just under 2 years at this point, so I figured the best way to recap this insane run would to be to showcase where all of my shiny dragons are right now here at the end of 2024. Cyclizar is of course first, and I gave it the Fire Terra type so it can resist super effective fairy moves. It also has the Throat Spray held item and the hidden ability Regenerator. It has the moveset Shed Tail, which pairs very nicely with its ability, a Stab Hyper Voice which activates the Throat Spray item, as well as Draco Meteor and an Overheat to go with its Terra. It has max EVs in Special Attack and Speed, and it has 2 ribbons with the Paldean Champion and Effort ribbons. Up next is Frigibax, who has the Dragon Terra type and the Icy Rock held item. This is a fun special attacking build with the hidden ability Ice Body paired with Snowscape as one of its moves. It also has Dragon Breath, Ice Beam, and Blizzard. I kept its quiet nature for the stats, and it has max EVs in HP and Special Defense, making this a pretty bulky baby dragon. It also has 2 ribbons with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons. Then, after finding Altaria and our first 2 Droopy forms of Tatsugiri, Arctibax is up next. It has the Ice Terra typing with the Eviolite held item. This is a more traditional build, with max HP and attack EVs, Thermal Exchange is the ability, and Adamant Mint for the stats. But I also kept some moves you would usually get rid of at this point, like Crunch, Ice Fang, and Dragon Tail, plus Swords Dance. It has 2 ribbons with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons. We then found a Shiny Goomy, a Mark Shiny Goomy which is now Sliggoo, and a Mark Swablu. But after that, it's on to Baxclibur. It also has the Ice Terra typing with the Choice Band held item. And this thing is just a straight up demon, man, running a moveset with lots of coverage, including Zen Headbutt, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, and its signature move, Glaive Rush. It has Thermal Exchange and Adamant Mint stats as well, with max EVs in attack and the rest split between HP and speed. It has 2 ribbons and a mark, with the Paldean Champion and Effort ribbons, as well as the Gourmand mark. Our curly form of Tatsugiri is up next, with the Dragon Terra type and the Focus Sash held item. This is my Tatsugiri setup for the classic Dondozo strategy, keeping the Commander ability and a moveset with debuffing moves, like Chilling Water and Icy Wind. It's also got Dragon Pulse and Draco Meteor with max EVs and HP and special attack, along with Quiet Mint stats, in case it needs to put in some work on its own. It has 2 ribbons with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbon. After this, we found our 3rd shiny Droopy form Tatsugiri, a 2nd shiny Swablu, and then a 4th shiny Droopy form Tatsugiri, which was immediately followed up by another shiny Droopy Tatsugiri, but this one was marked and stayed on the team. This is one of my favorite dragon builds that I've done, with the Stellar Terra type and the Clear Amulet item. This is the Sweeper Tatsugiri, running Nasty Plot, Terra Blast, Hydro Pump, and Draco Meteor. It has its EVs maxed in special attack and speed, modest mint stats, and its hidden ability Storm Drain. It has 2 ribbons and 2 marks, with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons, as well as the Pompous and Partner marks. Also, I gotta say, the Stella Terra typing on this pure white shiny with the Clear Amulet item just fit each other so well, man. It scratches some kind of itch in my brain. Anyway, moving on. Next is the final form of Tatsugiri, the Stretchy form. This next Tatsu I built specifically to support my Archaludon build. It has the Water Terra type with a Damp Rock held item, and also has the hidden ability Storm Drain. But this Tatsu is running a few different moves, like Rain Dance and Dragon Cheer. These combined with its max EVs and HP and speed, plus the Timid Mint stats, are meant to juice the hell out of Archaludon and its signature move Electro Shot, while also drawing in enemy water type moves that are boosted from the rain. It has 2 ribbons and a mark, with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons and the Gourmand mark. We then beat the game and head on to Area 0 where we found shiny Palmo, Golduck, and Greavard before finding our marked shiny Roaring Moon. Another one of my favorite builds here with the Steel Terra type and the Loaded Dice held item. The Loaded Dice matches the color scheme we got going on here, but it also makes Scale Shot an insane move on Roaring Moon. This paired with Dragon Dance, Throat Chop, and Iron Head, plus its Adamant Mint stats with max EVs in attack and speed, make this thing hit fast and hard. It has 2 ribbons and 3 marks with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons, as well as the Sociable, Partner, and Gourmand marks. We then took a trip over to Kitakami where we found shiny Dipplin. It has the Dragon Terra type and the Eviolite held item. This is the first and really the only of the defensive bulky type builds for these dragons, but with max EVs and HP and the rest in its defenses plus the Eviolite on top of that makes this thing a straight up wall. It has the Sticky Hold hidden ability, so it can't lose those amazing defenses from the Eviolite, and it has Growth, Dragon Tail, Recover, and its signature move Stirrup Bomb. I kept its quirky neutral stats, and it has 2 ribbons and 2 marks, with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons and the Partner and Gourmand marks. Next is Dipplin's evolution, Hydrapple. This is probably my actual favorite build of all these dragons, with the Stellar Terra type and King's Rock held item. This very slow but massive attacker can be great in a Trick Room team, and has a moveset ready to sweep, with Nasty Plot, Terra Blast, Syrup Bomb, and its signature move, Fickle Beam. It has the super sweet Syrup ability, Quiet Mint stats, and EVs maxed out in special attack with the rest split between HP and special defense. This definitely has the most ribbon and marks on the roster, with the Paldean Champion, Galar Champion, Tower Master, Effort, and Best Friend ribbons, as well as the Item Finder, Partner, and Gourmand marks. And finally, we have the most recently completed build for shiny Archaludon. The Fairy Terra typing is purely for defensive purposes, and is running the Assault Vest to help with that as well. It has Dragon Pulse Flash Cannon and its signature move Electro Shot, which pairs nicely with the Stretchy Tatsugiri from before. It also is running Body Press, which is an amazing move to have when combined with its ability Stamina. Its EVs are maxed out in HP and special defense, it has modest mint stats, and it has 2 ribbons with the Paldea Champion and Effort ribbons. And there you have it. An insane 23 total full odd shiny Pokemon were found after 86 Dragon Encounter 3 and Tidal Power 3 sandwiches, plus 3,038 total random encounters for our Hydrapple from Galar. The first shiny Cyclizar was found on January 10th, 2023, and the final shiny Archaludon was found on December 16th, 2023, ending just in time for 2024 and the Year of the Dragon to start. It is definitely a lot later into 2024 than I would have liked to drop this video, but I'm glad that one of my best shiny playthroughs that I've ever completed is finally available for you guys to watch, putting an end to the Generation 9 chapter of my Shiny Dragon Master Quest, and I hope you're ready for a lot more Shiny Dragon action in the future. Oh, and please, Game Freak, stop shiny locking all my dragon types, I'm begging you. Anyway, let me know which of my Generation 9 dragons you like the most. And of course, thanks so much for watching.